This is the story of the Gemma Hayter murder case in Warwickshire, England. A horrific killing in a bustling city where the perpetrators were disguised as friends of the victim. On August 9, 2010, along an abandoned railway line in Rugby, Warwickshire, England, a man jogging early in the morning discovered the naked body of a woman. Her face was beaten beyond recognition, with a black garbage bag placed over her head. The facial area of the body had turned almost black from severe trauma, and stab wounds were found on the back of her neck. The deceased was identified as 27-year-old Gemma Hayter. This shocking murder in Rugby, a peaceful market town in central England, soon horrified the entire country. Police immediately launched an investigation, and the truth revealed through CCTV analysis made the case even more disturbing. The people who led Gemma to her death were those she trusted most, her friends. Even more shocking was the fact that the last footage of Gemma showed her willingly following these people right up until her death. Gemma Louise Hayter was born on September 13, 1982, in Rugby, Warwickshire, England. Growing up as the youngest in a family with a mother, older brother, and older sister, Gemma was different from other children from birth. Her mother sensed something was different about Gemma from a very young age. Gemma had unique ways of responding to her environment, constantly needed attention, and often seemed lost in her own world. Doctors diagnosed Gemma with learning and behavioral disabilities. Mentally younger than her peers, Gemma had a friendly and trusting personality. She tended to treat people she'd just met like longtime friends. As she grew older, these differences became more noticeable, making it difficult for her to make friends at school, where she was often bullied. Around age 13, Gemma began experiencing early menopause. Her height stopped at 4 feet 11 inches, and she started gaining weight. Being different in appearance and behavior meant she couldn't make friends at school and often became the target of attention and ridicule in social settings. At 19, Gemma enrolled in a special residential college. Living away from her family for the first time, she began learning to care for herself. The school taught her how to socialize with others, cook, clean, and manage personal hygiene. Gemma thrived in this environment, happily living in a structured setting that understood and supported her while building confidence as she acquired life skills. After 2 years of education, Gemma had the option to continue for a third year. But in her early 20s, she decided to live a truly independent life. Despite her family's concerns, she left college, returned to Rugby, got her own apartment, and began living alone. Her family worried about her ability to live independently, but couldn't interfere with her adult decisions. They supported her as best they could, but Gemma was stubborn and determined to care for herself. She wouldn't let family members into her apartment, always meeting them outside, keeping her private life private while insisting she was fine. Gemma struggled to adapt socially and make friends throughout her life. But in her mid-20s, she finally met someone who wanted to be her friend, Chantel Booth. This brought immense joy to Gemma and her family. Seeing Gemma finally hanging out with someone, going for drinks and coffee, and engaging in normal social activities was the most ordinary thing that had happened in her life. Gemma's family initially had a good impression of Chantel. Although Chantel was younger than Gemma, spending time with Gemma, whose disability was easily noticeable, seemed kind and considerate. Their friendship felt special for this reason. However, as time passed, Gemma's family learned more about Chantel and gradually began to suspect she was taking advantage of Gemma. Eventually, it came to light that Chantel was taking money from Gemma. Gemma was aware of this situation, but viewed it simply as helping a friend and never thought Chantel might harm her. Above all, Gemma had never experienced true friendship before, so she didn't know what good friendship looked like. To her, even giving money was just part of being friends, and having a friend seemed more important than how she was treated within that friendship. On Saturday, August 7, 2010, after visiting her mother, Gemma went out to spend the evening in Rugby with Chantel and 4 other friends. As she left, she told her mother she loved her, and her mother said she loved her too. This would be the last conversation mother and daughter would ever have. At 11:30 that night, CCTV cameras in Rugby Town Center captured Duncan Edwards, a friend of Chantel's, taunting Gemma. Another friend, Joe Boyer, wearing a striped shirt, joined in, while Chantel appeared to be enjoying the situation. But they didn't stop there. Chantel grabbed Gemma and dragged her away, with Duncan following. The rest of the group, Daniel Newstead, Jessica Linus, and Joe Boyer, stood waiting. The CCTV footage showed Chantel acting violently toward Gemma, dragging her and yelling at her. An hour later, Chantel was caught on camera again, this time leaving Gemma alone after abusing her. Gemma appeared abandoned and desperate. From the night of August 8th to the early morning of August 9th, 2010, Gemma visited Chantel's apartment. Instead of being welcomed by friends, she was abused and tortured. Chantel and Jessica urinated in beer cans and forced Gemma to drink it. They smashed her head against a radiator, breaking her nose. They even wrapped duct tape around her face, making it difficult for her to breathe properly. The group continued to severely beat Gemma. Her nose was so badly broken it was barely attached to her face, and large amounts of blood were found around the bedroom and on the radiator. This torture and abuse continued late into the night. Around midnight, Chantel and the other 4 friends told Gemma they would take her home. Despite the abuse she had suffered, Gemma still wanted their help and friendship, so she went with them. This was recorded on CCTV, and the footage was shown to Gemma's family in court. Initially, the 5 friends were seen wearing hoods to cover their faces. Then Gemma appeared on screen. This was the last time she would be seen alive. The footage was extremely distressing for the family. Gemma could be seen bleeding from her nose, struggling to keep up with the people she still considered friends, despite being beaten and bruised. It was hard for Gemma's family to understand why she willingly followed them after such abuse. But psychologists explained that while most people would flee or seek help in such situations, Gemma's need for belonging was stronger than her survival instinct. Gemma was led through Rugby Town Center to an abandoned railway line, beyond the range of CCTV cameras. There, the final brutal act was committed against her. Around 7 a.m. on August 9, 2010, a jogger discovered a body near the abandoned railway line outside Rugby Town Center and immediately called the police. Officers quickly arrived at the scene and confirmed it was a murder. The body was identified as Gemma Hayter, and the devastating news was delivered to her family. Gemma's body was in a horrific state. She was naked with a garbage bag over her head, and her face was damaged beyond recognition. There were boot marks on her head and stab wounds on the back of her neck, indicating that the perpetrators had stripped her, beaten her severely, stabbed her with a knife, and left her in that condition. Investigators searched the area where Gemma's body was found and checked her phone records to determine who she had been in contact with and where she had been. They discovered she had been in regular contact with Chantel and had met her the day before the incident. Police analyzed hours of CCTV footage and spotted Gemma with Chantel and 4 others just 5 hours before her body was discovered. On August 10, 2010, all 5 individuals captured on the CCTV footage were arrested on suspicion of murder in connection with Gemma. After investigation and questioning, on the evening of August 12th, all 5 were charged with the murder of Gemma Hayter. The 5 were Duncan Edwards, Joe Boyer, his girlfriend Jessica Linus, Daniel Newstead, and his girlfriend Chantel Booth. Gemma's family was shocked to learn that her closest friend was among those charged with her murder. On June 8, 2011, nearly a year after Gemma's body was discovered, the trial began. All 5 defendants pleaded not guilty to Gemma's murder. However, phone records proved that Gemma had visited Chantel's home, and the large amount of blood she shed while being abused by her friends provided forensic evidence supporting their guilt. Throughout the trial, despite the horrific evidence, the 5 defendants showed little respect for the proceedings or the family. They passed notes to each other, laughed, and joked, behavior that showed absolutely no respect for the deceased Gemma or her family. On September 12, 2011 sentencing day, the judge mentioned the chilling nature of the evidence footage. She was beaten, in pain, unsuspecting, following you like a faithful, loving friend as you led her to her death," the judge criticized. The judge severely reprimanded each defendant, clearly pointing out their immoral behavior. Chantel Booth, Daniel Newstead, and Joe Boyer were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, becoming eligible for parole review after serving minimum terms of 21, 20, and 16 years respectively. Duncan Edwards and Jessica Linus were convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 15 and 13 years respectively. All 5 were also found guilty of assault causing bodily harm. When the sentences were announced, the defendants were shocked. They had maintained their innocence until the end, expecting to be released, but were stunned by the heavier-than-expected sentences. For Gemma's family, however, even these sentences didn't feel like sufficient justice. The fact that the criminals were still alive, breathing, living daily lives, and might someday be released remained a great pain for the family who had lost their beloved daughter and sister forever.